And welcome to another edition of Life Outdoors. I am your host, Chris Reckling. If you haven't seen Life Outdoors yet, it's all about everything happening in Hampton Roads outdoors. And today I'm really excited to have a new edition because we're going to talk to a friend of mine. His name is David Neff. Not just David Neff, but Dr. David Neff. Dave, good to see you, man. Welcome to Life Outdoors.
Thanks for having me. This is a great studio, and I wish you the best. It's a great show.
Yeah, well, I mean, today we're talking about something that you and I both feel very passionate about, and it's the love of surfing. But before we get to that part of it, I want you to tell everybody about yourself. You're Dr. David Neff. Before we talk about that surfing, tell us about your day job.
I've been a full-time history professor at Tidewater Community College for 30 years now. And when I started out 30 years ago, they called me a young upstart. And as fate would have it now, I'm the oldest full-time professor in the history department at any of the 4 campuses of TCC.
And just like that.
Just like it happened overnight.
Yeah.
You know.
It's crazy, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I feel you because I've become one of the oldest people here at Wavy.
It's
oh my gosh,
it's crazy.
But there's one constant in life, and that is something that you discovered at an early age, and I did as well. It's surfing. When did you tell me about that first time you picked up a board and you caught your first wave?
Well, I grew up in Norfolk near Old Dominion until I was about 13 or 14, and then my dad died, and my mom got remarried and moved to the north end of the beach when I was about 15. But before that, my dad had purchased a 9'6" Hobie surfboard in pristine conditions, and it was so I couldn't carry it myself, and I'd paddle it back in the Elizabeth River and get going real fast and stand up for as long as I could. So then he bought a board from a yard sale, a Sunshine. This is 1974 for $15, and I started surfing on it. And I remember the very first time. They would take a bunch of the kids from Norfolk down to Camp Pendleton, and they had Super 8 cameras. And we have that video. It's around. I went with a group.
That was filmed back then, right?
It was incredible. And a friend, I don't know if you remember, Miles Gabriel. He was a surfer down on the Outer Banks, and he worked for New Sun. And his dad took us all down there. And that video is around. But I remember the first time I stood up, and just like you remember, it changed my life, obviously. And it's the greatest thing. And the thing is that as you got better, you would say, well, I didn't surf that well. But when you first got up, that was it. That was like the funnest time I ever had surfing. That was like the dream of, the future.
And I right now when you said that, it kind of like reminds me of like the joy of fishing.
Yeah.
And the joy of fishing is that when something goes like that, you're like, and the surfing is the same thing. It's like that moment before you drop in. It's like it's never changes. Yeah. It's always like, whoa.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. The fishing, the wonder of dropping a line in and seeing dark water and not knowing, and then you feel that tug, and I fish all the time on the Eastern Shore where I used to have a house, and I didn't know what. Now I'm the worst fisherman. I can only catch 2 things: sharks and rays, and everybody else is catching wonderful things, but I could never catch that. But the wonder of that, it's like taking off. You never know where the wave's going to lead you, if it's going to tube, it's going to do this, it's going to be short, long, and you're reactive to it, and so it's awesome.
Yeah, and full disclosure, I've known you for a little while, and I mean, I feel like the first time we really met was a unique situation. Panama.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, I might have met you in glancing before that,
no,
but
because we used to play volleyball together at 50th Street,
okay.
and I knew you in high school. Well, I didn't. I knew you come right at the end of high school when you were like
really? We were crossing paths then.
No, you didn't know me. I knew you because you were an athletic star. You were the baseball, you were this guy.
I was trying to do too many things.
Well, you did it great. So.
Well, you know what, and the thing is, you share. This is more about you, but I'm going to just share this. Football and baseball were my calling card, but my real love was surfing, and it still is today. Yeah. I mean, it's like once it gets in your bones, you can't shake it.
Well, you're so big and strong and athletic, and most surfers are like lean and small, and and for a big, strong, muscular guy who's a football, baseball player, you were an exceptional surfer. Are an exceptional surfer.
Yep. Thank you, but I appreciate it. But we're going to see some pictures here that you've taken over the years, and we're going to get more into how you take those pictures there. But I mean, today you share this love of surfing with your kids, your friends, your family. Does it mean more to you today than it did back then, or does it just evolve into
It's
something?
totally evolved. So when when I first started, I was just a grummy like anybody, and those are the fun days. Learning how to stand up, learning, I would walk from the north end all the way to 70 blocks, and I would surf all day, and I'd go get a cheeseburger or something. Then I'd walk home at night with my board in a wetsuit, and those days are etched in my mind. But now, then I started doing all the competitive, amateur surf, and I did every contest, and I surfed longboard and shortboard. And then, you get to be older. I did the magazine, and so now I'm an old guy. I'm the old guy, but I'm out there surfing every day, So that in itself, and these pictures help get me in the water. I say, even if it's no good, I'm going to go out there and try to take a good picture. That gets me in the water. And then I surf out there for an hour, and, I surf with my children. My son and I, we go out, my older son, and we surf a lot together, and we're always down at the beach. And so it has evolved. It's kind of like going full circle. I'm not as good as I was. It's like, I'm getting back to, like where I was as a Grammy.
But you enjoy it just as much today than you did then.
I would say probably more now than ever, because I'm so, I always tell people, you never know when your last wave is. And we have so many friends that have experienced that, or they've gotten sick, or they've gotten injured.
Yeah.
So I'm so appreciative out there, and I'm not a religious person, but I'm very spiritual. And that's where I feel closest to God, is in the ocean with the dolphins and the sun and those beautiful days. So, yeah, I'm really thankful for where I am right now surfing.
And just like as fishing is no 2 days are the same, no 2 days are the same when surfing.
No.
The conditions are always changing.
Right.
The atmospheric conditions are changing. The water's different.
That's right.
I mean, there's something different every single time.
Yeah, and you can see that in the pictures, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and so the pictures, every picture is different. Every picture, the waves, the condition, the weather. Sometimes I'm in a wetsuit, sometimes I'm not. And that's the great thing. And we're getting this surf park to Virginia Beach, and I hope it's real successful.
Yeah.
But when I look at like Kelly Slater's wave pool, it's perfection. It's like you and I would draw that when we were in high school in our books.
do.
And that would be so fun to surf. But after a while, I watch it and I'm like, you need to have diversity. You have to have change. You have to have something unexpected happen, like in the ocean. That's what I love.
All right, so you mentioned the pictures. And so people are probably thinking, wow, look at those pictures. How did you get those pictures? Well, when you stick around in the next segment, when we come back on Life Outdoors, Dave's going to tell us how he gets those pictures. It's pretty incredible. So stick around for that. And welcome back to Life Outdoors here in the Wavy Plus studios. I am your host, Chris Reckling. Today we're talking about one of my favorite things to do in all of life, and I can't imagine life without it. It is the sport of kings. We're talking to Professor David Dr. Neff. Dave, there's a lot going on when we talk about surfing because, the love of the sport is shared by so many different people. We both grew up in Virginia Beach. Not, two things you don't hear in the same sentence is world-class surf in Virginia Beach. You just don't hear that. But it doesn't matter. The Stoke is still so much alive, and thankfully we have the Outer Banks, just a short ride down the beach, right?
That's right.
But in the first segment, we saw these great pictures, and I think it's important to let people know that every single one of those pictures, Dave shot himself. What's the trick?
Well, the trick is dedication, right? Most of the photos that I show and put online are done with a simple GoPro camera. And I've learned the first GoPro camera that I got was given to me from my neighbor. And I didn't even know what a GoPro was. And so he was a Navy SEAL. And he said, I used to use this on my missions. I'm going to give you the camera, but I can't give you the SD card because the government wouldn't like that. So you have to buy your own micro SD card. So I bought that. And then I started to look at how to use GoPro. But GoPro has some limitations. It compresses things. So I would hold it up and it would be close, but you just see a picture of my butt or my face too close. And then I had to figure out how to get space, and that's where I brought the pole in, and to attach it to a pole. Then I started doing all kinds of, the world just evolved, and I just started experimenting. And, that experimentation has to do with, cameras, doing strange things with my cameras, and of course software that I get to level out pictures and take a big blob of water out of somebody's face and make it kind of cleaned up.
Make the pole disappear.
Yeah, make the pole disappear.
Right, right.
And sometimes I throw my pole in the air and then I'll make it go away. And people are like, "Are you using drones?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "How do you get these shots?" And I'm like, I have a 6-foot pole in my mouth that I take off like flying an airplane. And sometimes if that wing dips, I have splinters in my teeth because of that, just the other day.
I bet.
And I throw it in the air, and it's spinning, and then I go and fetch it, and it has to be floating. And I needed a pole that was wood so I could bite down on. And then once I get it back home, I have to kind of show how I can level the horizon out, and then I can start to make the picture look better. But it's not photo. Yeah, that's one taken from this camera, which is a simple Canon Vixia camera. And but there's a perfect example. I'm throwing the pole, and then if you have the next one,
oh yeah,
you can see the pole is no longer there, and I just kind of bumped up the color to make it look not as brown as it is around here. But people understand that I'm not photoshopping. I'm not making the waves bigger or smaller or my surfing any different. All I can do is kind of clean up photos, with the hardware that I have.
So, do you hold? How do you hold the pole when you're paddling?
In my mouth. So
that's dedication right there, man.
An hour and a half ago, I was surfing, and the waves were real good, and it was good enough where I could ride a small board. So on a small board, I have to hold it in my mouth when I'm paddling, and sometimes I can kind of tuck it under. On a longboard, I can kind of set it there and then hold it when I go through waves.
Right.
But on a small board, it's much more difficult. But the pictures are a lot better because you have a shorter board and you have more space, and it looks, you show distance. It really comes out well.
Okay, so that's one element of it. You're out there catching waves, and if you're not familiar with surfing is difficult enough without a pole in your mouth or in your hand. It's not easy, especially on a big day when you're having to negotiate inside sections or closeouts or whatever. So that's the trick, is that pole, surfing with that pole, Dave.
I have friends, and I'm like, hey, you got to do this. I want to get some pics of you. So here, take my pole, do what I do. And they try to do it. And these are all really good surfers. They're really quality, and they're like, they can't do it. They can't take off, or they take off too late, and then they're doomed, and then trying to hold the pole while they're surfing. It's multitasking 101, that's for sure.
Yeah, and the best part of this is the fact that when you do it, you're having fun, you're catching waves, you're getting these great images, and then you're sharing it over social media, which is new to all of us.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank you for doing that, because that's, you're sharing the Stoke.
Yes.
And when we see the pictures, the images, the finished product, if you can't get in the water, if you've worked all day, it's nice to just see that. So thanks for sharing that.
Well,
I know it means a lot to a lot of people who might not be able to get in the water.
I never even knew what Instagram was a few years ago. My wife was like, "These pictures, your friends would like to see them." So I started to put them on Facebook and Instagram. And next thing you know, I had thousands of followers. It's so funny. People come up to me just the other day and they're like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "How you doing?" And they're like, "Hey, I know you. I follow you on Instagram." I'm like, "Really?" It's like, so I'm just an old balding dude, man. Are you sure? He's like, "Yeah." So anyway, I can't tell you the amount of friends that will eventually see this show, and they've sent me messages. I'm talking about people that are going through cancer treatment. All of our friends that have had shoulders, hips, knees. When they see me in the tube and that view looking out, they know that view. That they know that. You know that. Every surfer friend that we know, they feel that. And so they live kind of vicariously through those pictures. Mm-hmm. And it inspires them. I surf with students just this morning. My students come and surf with me. Students that were 30 years ago in my college class. That's,
Oh, I thought it was current students. I was going to say, they're definitely getting an A.
They come surf with me too. There's a picture of me at the TCC graduation that I've seen going, and in the background, there's a TCC professor, Bob Maynard. He's 82 years old. He's worked full-time as a math professor for 53 years at TCC. He's the oldest full-time employee. And about when he was a young buck at 70, however many years ago, he asked me to teach him to surf. And I brought him out, taught him to surf. He's like, what do I do to train? I was like, just do push-ups. I'll take care of the rest.
Right.
He got up, and so that's the kind of Stoke that we're sharing. People see these photos, and I invite them down to surf with me. It's lonely where I am. I don't tell people to leave. I'm like, it's scary. In the wintertime, it's kind of sharky, and, so come on up.
Yeah, if you get scared or lonely, just go to First Street Jetty. All right, listen, Professor.
Not that lonely.
Professor Stoke, listen, we're going to take a short break. We'll come back and talk more of the love of surfing with David Neff. Stick around for that. Welcome back to Life Outdoors. I'm your host, Chris Reckling, standing by with David Neff. He is friend, surfer, professor, and father, husband. What are the other titles that you go by there, Mr. Neff? Doctor.
I've written
Dr.
a book.
Neff. You've written a book?
I've written a book. I've been published in encyclopedias. And what else? I play music.
You're a musician.
That's a big thing. That's an important thing.
You're a history professor. I bet your mind is just blowing up right now. The world that we live in.
It is, and but I try to lead my students to the objective promised land.
Let's talk about your students. What's the joy of being a professor and teaching the young minds of today? Because I know you take that very seriously.
Yeah.
And what's your sort of your mentality and your mission and describe yourself as a professor?
Truth is my mentality, and I tell people whether you like it or not, the truth will set you free. So I try to teach history from that perspective. All the great things of this great country, which is the greatest empire that's ever lived, but we've been imperfect at times, and so I want students to know that. I don't want them to fear, the bad things that people try to keep from us. So I teach the whole thing. And that makes a student more comprehensive, more understanding. It makes them stronger, not weaker, to know the truth about this great country. So, and being at TCC, I've taught at other colleges, and I really feel like we're doing, our motto is from here, go anywhere. And so I see students go from my class literally to William & Mary, UVA, ODU, JMU, VMI, even some
Sure.
Ivy League schools. So to take a person that said, this isn't for me, college, and to get them on that path, that's the greatest joy in my life.
You mentioned that you wrote a book. You also, in the mid 80s, you started Shred Magazine. Thank you for doing that. That was something cool because that was pre-internet. All we had was surfing and Surfer Magazine. Yeah. Like, how did we as surfers get a hold of something? And you started up a magazine locally. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that magazine, when I told my parents that I was going to do a magazine, I was living at home, and they told me I had to leave by the weekend. And so I started that magazine, and the first issue, I think I sold 8 of them. And the last issue we were doing 15,000 a month. It got so big that the Virginia Pilot Ledger-Star had to publish it. I was offered the associate editor position at Surfing Magazine because they had seen it. I turned them down. And about a week later, Steve Pesman from Surfer Magazine wanted to put our Shred Magazine inside of Surfer Magazine east of the Mississippi. And I was like, I don't know, Steve. And he was like, well, come to California. So my artist, John Hutchinson, the world's greatest illustrator and graphic designer, and I went out there and got to meet all of Chris, our heroes in the 1980s.
Yeah.
And nothing ever came of it. I sold the magazine eventually to the art director, John, and then I used that money to go back to get my master's at ODU and then another one at George Mason.
What did it mean to you personally to tackle that? Going against the parents' wishes and being successful and providing the Stoke that we surfers wanted.
I tell all of my students, people may not like it, but every student has a passion. It may not be a passion. The first thing you tell your parents, they're going to say is, well, how are you going to make money, blowing glass or doing a surf magazine? Forget that. You got to get up every day and go to work. You should be happy. The money will come with your dedication. So that's what I tell people,
Yeah.
And it worked for me. I could have gone to California. I was always a history person. That was always my thing. I knew that would be my career, and so that's where it led me.
There it is right there, the 80s. And it really was we had a feel for the 80s. That was back in the color time. And I'll share this. You put me and 3 buddies on the cover.
I remember that,
Yeah. Should we share the
If
title?
if you have that, well, do you have the photo?
I don't have it with me,
Oh,
but
well.
I mean, well, I remember it distinctly. It was a lot of fun. But look, we're seeing some more pictures, some images here. I mean, they're spectacular.
That's a cool photo.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to just hit on the, I mean, that one right there.
That's a former
beautiful.
student of mine.
That's
20 years
beautiful.
ago,
That's
Mike
beautiful.
Haverly, one of the best longboarders.
I mean, come on. That's art.
Yeah.
That's ballet on water.
By myself that day out in Kitty Hawk.
Outer Banks?
Yep.
I noticed Outer Banks waves when I see him.
that was-
Offshore, baby.
That was scary. That's a fake background, but the picture's real. But we
Yeah.
have a lot of plain, just gray in the back, so I kind of juiced it up. That was just a beautiful photo that came out.
Oh, this next shot is phenomenal.
I love that.
Not as much as I like this one, man.
Oh,
Well,
that my board was caught in the wave, spinning over, filming me, and I just happened to look, and when I can stop it frame by frame, I saw that, and that one.
That right there, that's avant-garde. That is so cool, man.
It is.
And so you're part of the wave. I mean, it continues.
That was they did a painting of that, and so that's the actual photo. And then my friend did a painting of it. That's another painting that another lady, Cindy Lou, did. And but yeah, these are really interesting. That's the painting that my friend John Reed did, and he published it in this book, Find Your Flow. And anyway, I thought that was really kind of a nice thing that he did. It was in the front piece, and he sent me the painting from that.
Yeah, so cool. We could sit here and talk about surfing for hours.
Yes.
I don't even know what to ask. I mean, because when you're a surfer, you share the Stoke, the love of the ocean, the healthy addiction that it is, the way it opens up the world to you. What has this sport meant to you? Because it's defined you as a person, and it's I don't want to limit you because you're so much more than that. But it comes down to like your soul, and that's where it's at, right? I mean,
Well, you heard me. I said it's my religion. It's my religion. It's when I feel closest connected to nature, to God. And when I'm out there, I'm thinking, everybody has bad days. I've got a bunch of kids. I got all kinds of, bills to pay. I got to work. I got to do all that, just like you. But when you're in the ocean, and everybody who surfs is listening to this knows, when that water, rolls down your back, when you don't have a wetsuit, and when you look out and you see a set coming, when the wind's blowing like it is today, out of the west, and the water's a real pretty color, it's like it's nirvana. You're there, and so it's like we're the enlightened ones, but because we know that other people, they experience it, they'll know the same thing.
And we're going to show some more pictures before we go. We're coming down the home stretch here. I don't know what to ask other than you're from Virginia Beach. Seems like Virginia Beach is going through a renaissance right now in so many different ways. More and more people are surfing.
Mm-hmm.
You got younger kids who are ripping. You've got so many women who are out there destroying it. I mean, how impressed are you with what we're seeing now? Because when you grew up and I grew up, I took the Sunshine Special inland. Remember the Sunshine Special? We'd put the board and bike or whatever on, and we'd ride our bike from Thalia to get to the First Street Jetty. There was a pier there. When you tell people today that there used to be a pier
The steel pier.
Yeah.
That was our mecca.
The steel pier. And you're out there surfing, and there's still steel pieces still out there. They're around the buey. Don't go down the buoy.
I think I got stitches there, if I'm not mistaken.
But I mean, where's surfing today, and where's it going in the future?
Well, so a couple of things. If anybody's ever interested, there's this incredible group of people that meet at First Street every morning, and primarily people, some of them are our age, some of them are older, and a lot of women. And these women, they're the most soulful. They are the heart and soul. I love all of them. I don't surf. I occasionally go down and surf with them, and then some of the older guys. But they have it's like California. They get up in the morning. This weekend they're having a little cookout in the parking lot. They all get together. They find joy in surfing like 1 foot surf, kind of like me. That is incredible. And then the other thing, with the soulfulness of these young longboarders, I don't know if you've seen them. I won a lot of longboard contests. I'm not a very good longboarder. These guys are like the real deal. Hanging 10, riding on the wave, doing things that longboarders should be doing, And then the last thing was the surf park. That's going to change everything. The surf park, that's going to be a great thing for this community.
Well, Dave, it's been a pleasure talking about the sport of kings, the sport that has defined so much of our life, surfing. We can't appreciate you enough for coming in on this edition of Life Outdoors. Once again, for David Neff, I'm Chris Reckling. Don't forget, everybody, to live your life outdoors.